I don't know what the hell I was doing.
I don't know. I was doing like the Nature Boy or some shit. Welcome, all of you beautiful people and beautiful sons of bitches out there. Welcome back to the Battle Bros podcast with Mac and Alamo. I myself am Mac. This beautiful specimen of a man, a little shorter. They might have shrunk the formula down when they made him. This is Alamo, but he's fun size. He's it's he's fun size. He's fun size with a dad bod. I mean,
short when standing, but tall when laying down.
Nice, fucking beautiful. Yeah. So if you've watching our show for the first time, you just realize we're two guys that are extremely fucked up in the head, and this is what we're gonna do. He's like, oh shit! Oh, I just spent water in my microphone.
Almost.
For real though, if you're coming back to our show, we appreciate it. Thank you for coming back and checking us out again. If it's your first time, buckle the fuck up. It's gonna be rad. Anyway. We were kind of had to miss a couple of weeks just due to some planning and stuff, and then we had that big old
storm and
hurricane and stuff, and I didn't have power the first weekend, then you didn't have power the next weekend. It's like, Can we just get this shit together?
We still have flooding in our area, bro.
Hey, Jim Cantori, stay the fuck out of Florida, and maybe we'll stop getting storms down here. How about it? That'd be great. Stay at National Weather. Stay at Weather Channel headquarters.
Don't forget that Dennis Phillips.
Yeah, that guy, whatever the hell I don't know who that is. That's whatever. So,
what? You don't know about Florida's weatherman, Dennis Phillips?
I don't watch the news, man. It's all depressing and it pisses me off.
He's actually pretty funny, that guy.
Even if it's the weather, I'm just like, oh, it's gonna be hot. Fuck, I'm gonna be outside with movie sweat going on here. I got the freaking meat sweats. Got salt stains. I've been outside for 3 minutes.
Remember, lift and then tuck so that way it absorbs.
Dude. Deodorant. Just put some deodorant on that shit.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. So if you haven't been on our show before, Alamo and I are two friends from high school. We both were post 9/11 military. We didn't serve together, but we served in various capacities. Alamo was on active duty. I was in the National Guard for 6 years here in Florida. We were both 11 series. I was a Bravo. Alamo here was a
check.
He was a Chucky high angle hanger, and he also went on to do strikers and stuff. So
yeah,
but so we kind of get on here and we talk about veteran and military related issues. Hopefully, you find it informative and possibly entertaining. And if anything, your watch is laughing, going, the Hispanic gentleman knows what he's talking about, but that dude with the big ass head, he's just funny to look at. He scares children. You're not wrong. So yeah, it's all good, and it's funny that I'm a therapist that works with kids. Anyway, that's awkward. So if you caught our show about 3 weeks ago, that would have been episode 043. We were talking about legacy. And we talked a little bit about different legacy for different aspects. We talked about Queen Elizabeth II, who had just passed away. It's hard to believe that's already been almost a month now. It's like, Jesus, what the fuck is time gone?
I know.
But just different things in that realm of conversation. It's a pretty good episode. I think they're all good because, we're on it. So, duh, they're awesome. But, so tonight we're going to have a little bit of a different kind of discussion. It's going to be talk about recovery. This is episode 044 of the Battle Bros podcast. This is also our season 2 finale. And of course, knowing us, we're going to, do it upright and shit. So, so we're going to talk a little bit about recovery tonight. So let's kind of get into the mindset of recovery. So, look it up like we normally do, kind of doing some research and stuff for our show. We're just looking up some stuff, and I came across kind of two slightly different but equally important definitions. So recovery, the first one I found, a return to a normal state of health, mind, or strength. Okay. The next definition I found is the action or process of regaining possession or control of something stolen or lost. So they're both slightly different, but they both are also, going to be very, very kind of interconnected, intertwined, and kind of, they gel and mesh and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So
especially as it relates to our community, like recovery, especially through, or I should say after situations such as combat and things like that. It's something that I don't think is covered enough.
No.
They talk about, oh, well, we'll try to help you out when you get home, and we'll try to, but
we're going to give you all the help you need, and we're going to give you help by walking out of said administrative hospital sounding like you're smuggling maracas in your pockets. Like you're trying to sneak maracas in the damn carnival down in Brazil and shit. Like,
that's Sam Cuban Pete. I'm kidding.
I was hoping you'd keep going with that. I was just like, that's perfect. Yeah,
I'm the king of the rumba beat.
And they play the maracas. I go chick boom. Oh, so good.
Oh, God.
This right here, folks, is number one, why we're best friends. Number two, why we don't get shit done during our 2 weekly meetings that we have to put on a show. And number three, that we're fortunate as fuck to put on a damn podcast and make it look like we know what the hell we're talking about. So in order to lend a little bit of seriousness and profound professionalism to this, we have a special guest that we're going to bring on.
Indeed.
This gentleman is somebody that I've had the pleasure of knowing for the last close to 10 years, and one of the best guys I know. And I say that, I'm not trying to kiss his ass. I mean, he'll probably downplay that when we bring him on here in a minute, but I mean, just all around, like, cut from a different kind of cloth. So we're going to let him kind of talk about it. So he is the author of a book called The 7 Layers of Successful Relationships. He is also a practiced and well-known behavioral scientist with a with a doctorate in neuroanthropology. And we're going to have him explain what that is, because I'm like, let me refer you to him, because I still have trouble explaining that. We're going to bring him on here.
It's like this. I speak words. So
okay, let's stop selling ourselves short and bring him on the show. Ladies and gentlemen,
Indeed.
Please welcome Dr. Gino Collura. He's our guest for today. And hey, there he is.
You guys gave me my ab workout for the day, because I'm dying laughing over here.
Yeah, man.
Dying laughing, dude. This is great.
Dr. G, welcome to the Battle Bros podcast, my man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
To be on here. So let's get that tough question out of the way.
Yeah, man.
What the hell is neuroanthropology? So let's explain that. Hey, so remember, some of us, not only are the two hosts, but some of our viewers at home, you see the scar tissue. We're some knuckle dragging fuckers. So let's break it down Barney style and explain that to us.
We're gonna break it down like a shotgun. All right?
Or as I said earlier,
yeah, there we go.
I speak words.
So, how do you break down neuroanthropology, right? So the neuro side, right? So obviously that's speaking to neuroscience, right? The brain, anything having to do with the brain, neuro, right? Anthropology is the study of behavior, cultures, and psychology, sociology, kind of all mixed into one. So anthropology is the grandfather to a lot of the social sciences that we now know today, but it all started with the study of human behavior, and that's exactly what anthropology is. So neuroanthropology is the focus specifically on behavior within the brain and studying past trends, being able to predict future trends, and also exposing the current manner in which we are utilizing our brain optimally or not, right? So that is the idea of the neuro side and the anthropological side.
So when you said break it down like a shotgun, I was hoping like a Remington 870, not a damn Franke Spas 12, because you got to have a damn degree to break that thing down. And if you don't know what we're talking about, go watch Jurassic Park, where Muldoon tries to shoot the raptor, and he's like got the erector set like stop. He's like taking the whole thing apart like a damn erector set that shoots 12 gauge. Yeah, I was thinking like Mossberg 500, Remington 70. I'm like,
listen, we'll go base model. We will do a base model Mossberg 500, right? So essentially, it's a fancy way of saying human behavior.
There we go. Okay, now we've got that happy medium. Yes, that right there, folks. That is under.
That works. We can roll with that. All right, let's roll with that.
If politicians could do that, oh shit, we'd be in good shape. We'd be a fucking best country.
Damn.
Like, oh my god, it'd be crazy. So
we are the best country in the world.
Oh, I mean, okay. that goes without being said. But I'm just saying things would be a lot more streamlined instead of all this. It would just be like that. So let's kind of get into your background, Dr. G.
Yeah,
so kind of give us, a little overview. Do you like long walks on the beach?
Mai Tais. Got to have Mai Tais. That's a prerequisite in order to achieve the long walk on the beach.
Okay.
Mimosas in the morning.
Ooh, included with brunch. Yes.
Yep.
Max,
Sir.
so do you want me to talk a background as far as just like life story, or on the professional side with the human behavior things?
Well, kind of get into that, but kind of just also to kind of help paint a picture, a little bit more of a complete picture. Like talk about, if you could, whatever you feel comfortable talking about with your time in South America.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely, man. So
go into that.
All right, man. So born and raised, I'm a Florida boy through and through, right? And for those of you who are tuning in and don't know the city of Tampa, right? Tampa is very, very well known for a specific spot called Ybor City. Ybor City has a very strong history with the Cuban population, the Sicilian population, and the Spanish from Spain and German population. So my family comes from a long line of Cuban descent and Spanish descent and Sicilian descent. So born and raised in Tampa, been here my entire life, did my bachelor's, master's, and doctorate degree all at the University of South Florida.
And now he's showing off. There we go.
Oh, man. just throwing it out there. Throwing it out there, Mackle.
Oh, great. Love it.
Oh, man. But so been here my entire life minus a 3-year stint where I lived in Cartagena, Colombia, and did executive protection work down there. So I served as a PhD agent for a global procurement firm. So it was on the private corporate side. So for those of you who are tuning in and are familiar with PSD, it's Protective Services Detail, essentially is what that means. It's a fancy way of saying a bodyguard. So had a long history of doing a lot of martial arts, and that's what kind of got me into that, right? And the close quarter type stuff. Went to bodyguard school, also went to Blackwater for advanced tactical training, went through a program there called HRSO, which is high risk security operations training. Had a chance to work with some really, really cool people who I learned a lot of cool stuff from.
Subtle, very subtle. Let me just.
So that was really, that was an awesome experience. But anyways, man, so I came back from Colombia, took a year off, knew I wanted to start my doctorate degree, needed a job, right? So actually got hired at Shooters World. And that is a very large indoor shooting range that is where Mac and I met. So one thing led to another, and we developed a beautiful relationship coming out of that. And had some fun times with a few different ventures in the tactical training world. But all that to be said, that exposed me and gave me the unique opportunity to spend a lot of time with veterans. So I have a very near and dear place in my heart with veterans. And by the way, it's not just U.S. military. It's also British military, Australian military, Colombian military. I had a chance to work with a lot of really, really good, solid dudes when I was in Colombia. Specifically, there was a unit there called La Jungla. I don't know if you guys, Alamo, Mac, you guys ever heard of that before? La Jungla?
I've heard it once or twice before, but
I've heard of La Jungla, yeah.
Okay. So they are a special operations component of Policía Militar in the Colombian army. So they specifically go after coca fields and burning them down, right? And so they're rocking and rolling 5 days a week, right? I mean, the cartels protect those things in a very big way, right? So had a great relationship with those guys, learned a lot from them, and long and the short, I learned how it is that they deal with combative trauma, right? And that really sparked an interest because counterparts that I knew in the U.S. military dealt with trauma a little bit differently, right? And there's a lot of cultural nuance to that, specifically the clinicalization of that entire process, where for the folks that I spent time with in Colombia, it was a religious experience, right? And so this idea of hypervigilance and arousal and stress, that is a very normal adaptation to happen in combat, especially day in, day out, right? You literally you're staying alive. Like you need to do what you need to do to stay in the fight, keep your head on a swivel, check left, check right, make sure that your buds are good, right? These guys would go to church once a week, would do confession, and they would do confession for what's called demonios de guerra, which means demons of war, right? So this idea of guys that they killed, and also guys of theirs that they lost, right? They felt that they were haunted by those souls and those spirits. And going to church and being absolved of that sin was an absolute for them, right? And so, literally, from the time they walked in to the time that they walked out church, it was like just being washed away. That was the feeling, the sentiment for them. Vastly different than what you would get from the idea of, oh, you're feeling A, B, C, X, Y, Z. You have type symptomology. You need to go talk to a therapist, right? And so there's a not saying one's wrong, right? It's just different, right? But it fascinated me. That difference fascinated me. So that sparked kind of my flair for wanting to learn more about human behavior on the neurological side and the culture's role, right? When it comes to all of that. So going back to where I was at before. So started my doctorate program. That was about a solid 7 years at USF, and it was a grind, a hustle, lots of coursework, lots of writing, lots of research, and ended up spending about 4 years studying folks in the special operations community here in the States and how it is that they dealt with trauma, coped with trauma, and different elements that affected their quality of life at home and at their job. So fast forward a couple years later, met my beautiful wife, who's now my beautiful wife. Have a gorgeous 21-month-old daughter who's my
Okay, let me just interject real quick. I'm not saying go find this guy's Facebook page because it's probably, we respect the right to privacy, but holy shit! Like if you saw this little girl, you're just like, oh god, like I just can't. I can't try to make a kid that good looking. Shit, like I mean, just an absolute angel. Like I show pictures of my mom. She's like, oh, it was just what you want. Like you look at my kid and you just go, can you just tone down
dude,
the no. Listen, she is. But I had to come up with a word to describe her. So you have snarky and you have sarcastic. So you have snarkastic because that's her personality.
I like it.
Half Puerto Rican, half Irish. There you go.
I like it.
So anyway, yeah.
So
please.
real quick question, Gino.
Yeah.
I would imagine, like, basically you said you had to deal with a lot of, during your research years, with a lot of the guys in the special forces community. I would imagine that brought you quite often over to MacDill. Am I wrong or am I right?
So the way that I procured my research, so the specific focus of what I had during my time doing field work, so I actually took a deep dive into mixed martial arts and their role in reassimilation and reacculturation, right, for U.S. service members. So though I did have a bit of time on base, truly, where I did the majority of my interviews, my focus groups, my surveys, all that kind of stuff was off base at different mixed martial art gyms that had a high population of folks who were active duty as well as veterans, as well as civilians, right, all training together because there's a very unique thing.
That makes a lot of damn sense. Because you think about, you think about the amount of guys in the special forces community. In our line of profession when we were grunts in the militaries, also, like how many guys go to Muay Thai freaking dojo?
Yeah, man.
A fucking BJJ jiu-jitsu dojo. You know what I mean? It just
absolutely.
It's really notorious for having a lot of prior service,
yes,
a lot of law enforcement, all types of good stuff.
And what's really fascinating about that, if I can just interject real quick, is we had a gentleman on 3 shows ago. We had a guy named Jerry Strickland, who a guest that we had on through Alamo. He actually is a guy involved with the Mission 22 organization.
Nice. Yeah.
He was actually regional leader. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a regional leader for the state of Florida and whatnot. But he was telling us, he's like, one of the things that they do is like, if guys come out to them, looking for help and assistance, they're like, if you find a gym that does like, BJJ or something, like they'll pay for a year's membership. And it's like a lot of guys use that just as a way to kind of like get kind of centered, to kind of get themselves self-centered and whatnot. And he's like it's amazing because it's like playing chess with your sweaty, slimy ass body. So yeah,
it's amazing you mentioned that, Max. So I actually just got back from Dallas last weekend, and there's a foundation called the We Defy Foundation, and this is exactly what they do. They pay for the tuition to a jiu-jitsu academy for combat veterans for a year, right? So there's an application process, and you go through, you get selected, you go to one of their certified schools. They have a ton throughout the country. I think they're up to 500 now. And
outstanding. That's amazing.
Dude, changes lives. Like it's beautiful. It's beautiful what happens, right? I mean, I can't say a blanket statement, but with the majority, especially the time that I did doing research and studying that, just an improvement of quality of life, improvement in relationships, being able to retain employment, kicking addiction, all kinds of stuff. That was really solid, really solid.
Yeah. And I imagine just the psychology of like, giving yourself something to challenge yourself, like challenge. And I mean, what's more challenging than freaking rolling with somebody on the freaking floor trying to submit them?
That's
you know
exactly
what I mean?
right.
Like, you get that adrenaline going. You're just like, yeah, that's fucking good.
No, but I mean, like legitimately, Alamo, like in a very real sense, dude, you're nailing it on the head, because here's a really unique thing, right? So, like, for example, Alamo and Mac, you guys have an incredible brotherhood, right? And a camaraderie, right? That has very, very deep roots. It is sealed and forged in combat, right? Now, fast forward to guys who have come back and they're having challenges, man, trying to figure out like job and family. And like a month ago, I was kicking down doors and shooting bad guys, and now I am 8 to 5 Monday through Friday in a cubicle, and I have to deal with 5 o'clock traffic, and I have a wife who's upset. I have kids who are crying. Like, it's a lot, right? So for me to be able to feel comfortable to build what we call social capital, which is like really meaningful relationships, like those bank of relationships, it takes a lot more than just a handshake and saying, "What's up?" Right? Or that's my work colleague, right? When you can seal and forge a relationship through combat, and pick your medium. It doesn't matter if it's a gunfight or if it's empty hand combat. So BJJ offers an opportunity specifically, right, for two guys to go after it 100%, right, and be able to impose each other's will. One maybe is a veteran, one's a civilian, never been in the military ever, right? But there's a brotherhood that's formed, and it's one that they miss because they don't have it anymore like they did in the military. So it's not 100% the same, but it's as close as you're going to get.
Well, and also to kind of to double tap on that too, the 5 or so interviews that we've had, one of the things that we ask everybody, it's like, what's something you missed from the military? They're like, that camaraderie. Just having that sense of connection, like it's there's things in the civilian world that are close to it, but it's not to the same depth, intensity, and magnitude that you would find in the military. So
without a doubt, man. And I will say, like, look, man, me as a civilian, right? Dude, my best friends are guys that I have met training, right? Like, I mean, like, 1 minute, one's trying to rip your arm off, and then you tap and you guys are good, and then you're doing the same. You're trying to lock them in a choke, right? Choke them unconscious, and then tap, boom, restart, right? But it's a beautiful thing. It really is. I mean, a lot of people like, why do you guys wear pajamas and are sweaty trying to choke each other? Like, I don't understand. And
why don't you wear fucking pajamas, bro?
Because you think about it, and like while you're doing shit like that, you're just like, yeah,
okay, it's 2022. Let's stop judging motherfuckers. How about that?
Yeah,
thank you.
It's like, I got you on that tap out, bitch. So yeah, you did get me on that tap out. So yeah, but you kind of got me on that freaking foothold. Yeah, you did kind of get me on that foothold.
Hey, that was a good whole session. Bitch. You want to get some coffee? Yeah, let's go get some coffee. Fuck yeah.
So yeah, you want to go get a beer now? Yeah, fuck yeah.
Dude. And you know what? That's not to start dropping products and stuff, but like I was telling you, I just got done reading that Tim Kennedy book, Scars and Stripes.
Yeah,
it is just spot on what you talked about just forming that bond. And like he talks about his trials and tribulations coming up through these different MMA gyms and whatnot, and just also like me being a guy who doesn't watch that kind of shit. I know. Hold your comments.
We'll fix that. Yeah. We're gonna fix that.
Like, just when he was coming up through freaking all this like UFC when it was really young, and then he was also involved with Strike Force, which I had never heard of before.
He was, if I remember correctly, he was still like in the National Guard when he was in freaking doing that, wasn't he?
He talks about that a little bit in one of the chapters. He talks about
he was still SF.
Right. So he was active duty, and he talks about how his command was like, either you need to pick being a Green Beret or you need to pick being an athlete. And he was like, he kind of, and not to give away too much of the book. If you haven't read it, get off your ass and fucking read it.
I'm going to get it.
Was he 19th or 20th group? Do you know?
He's 19th out of Texas, but that's what he switched into. And when he got in the 19th group, the commander's like, fuck, do both, man. It's gonna bring some attention to us, dude. Hell, fucking
Dude.
yes. Like,
And
do
good
it,
call
man.
on that commander, because that's exactly
Oh
what it's
yeah,
done.
and he.
Yeah.
But what I found interesting, and again, sidebar. Sorry to kind of derail us a little bit here, but that's what
Gosh, Mac.
Jeez.
How long have you known me, dude? Come on. But like, what I really thought was great and honest about it was the fact that it's not every. Like, there's a lot of sarcasm to it. You know, if you've read Matt Best's book, Thank You for My Service, like the whole thing is just it's just dripping with sarcasm.
Good.
Yes.
But with Tim's book, it talks a lot about failures. Like, you see this great dude on the outside. He's done a lot of cool shit. I mean, he's still a Green Beret. He's a master sergeant now, and he's done all this. He's done these television shows and had a great career. But he's like, I fucked up a lot. Like, he went and he was trying to go about to get a certain job, and then right before he got it, something happened that like just derailed like the last 3 years of his life, and it's just like,
yeah,
oh, so
That's real, man.
I'm telling you, man, it is so good. Like I told you guys before the show, you laugh, you cry, you think, and like it makes you reflect. Like, I was reading one chapter, we was talking about being in Afghanistan, and I was just like, I need minutes.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
no.
anyway,
it is so legit though. I mean, here's the interesting thing too, right? Especially
it's
with like
so honest, man, and it's a different kind of book nowadays, man. It's just
his
so
understanding of it too, right, man? Because he's a BJJ black belt as well, right? Like he is certifiable. He is legit. His striking is awesome. His wrestling is fantastic. His jiu-jitsu is phenomenal, right? But failure, right? So like that is one thing that is a really big deal, right? So for example, if I looked at both of you, right, and I said, all right, guys, what does it mean when you have mission failure, right? It's not good.
Something very bad happened.
It's not a good feeling, right?
Did not hit the OBJ. There's probably casualties. There's probably Kazovac involved.
That's it right there, right?
Bad shit.
But dude, on a jiu-jitsu mat, you fail multiple times every night, right? Because every time you tap, you failed, right? So it is a rewiring and a reprogramming of understanding what failure actually is in that context, right? And so like when I tap, it's giving me an opportunity to say, what did I do wrong? Right? What can I do right? Well, dude, when you're in a gunfight, you don't get to go back. You don't get to bring someone back to life, right? It's the variables are different,
and
right? As a civilian, you need to have the softer element of understanding failure, right? And so to help calm down some of those nerves and that hypervigilance, right? So there's a shift there, but dude, like it will beat you to the ground until you start understanding it, because what ends up happening is that it will relinquish your ego. Like, dude, that's the beautiful thing about it. Like, I've been training for a long time, right? And like for me to walk into an academy, right, and be humbled like in 30 seconds by the instructor, which by the way happens all the time, like because there's just levels to it, right? Like it doesn't matter. I don't care what belt you are. There's always someone better. I don't care if you're a 7th degree freaking black belt, you know, you're a part of the Gracie family. There's always someone better, right?
So,
that's the beautiful thing of it.
Here's the crazy thing, Gino, is you haven't read the book yet, but he actually says at one point towards the end of the book, he says 3 powerful words that just resonate so hard.
Yeah.
Failure isn't final.
That's exactly right. Yes, and that's
you know what's fucking sweet. You guys actually brought up the perfect segue. So, G-Nizzle, common concerns and issues that you find with our community that through your line of work. What do you think the most common issues have been?
Oh man.
So I want to break that down. So let's take that from the service member side first, people that are still in the military.
Yes.
And then let's also then go and tackle the veteran side. So if you could kind of differentiate those two real quick while you're chatting.
Dude, so you know this is interesting, right? So I had the very distinct opportunity, and they're actually flying me up to brag in January. But
nice.
SORB, Special Operations Recruiting Battalion. For the Army, right? So you got a mix of SF, you got PsyOps, you got civil affairs, Ranger Bat,
the whole schmear,
right? So I had a very distinct privilege, man, of spending a week with SORB not too long ago and doing a workshop on specifically resiliency, right, and optimization, but optimization as a human being in general, right? So as a family person, but also as a soldier. And you know, here's the thing, man. When you have folks, the military demands that you are proficient and comprehensive in what you do because people's lives depend on it, right? And so when you take that level of professionalism and responsibility, and then you get into the civilian world, and the same thing isn't necessarily shared amongst your peers, right? There is a massive disconnection that happens, right? And then there's this idea of these people are incompetent because they don't understand how to do their job correctly and be efficient and do it in a timely manner. So that one element of that is being able to bridge the gap, right? So for example, if I am active duty, I deploy out, I come home, and now I have spent 9 to 12 months in combat, right? And now I have a 7-year-old kid and a wife who has no idea of what it's like, what I just went through. And now all of a sudden I've got to be dad that, plays with teddy bears and colors, coloring books. And then I have to be the husband that is romantic and spontaneous and taking my wife out when my mind and my heart is still in the fight. Right.
Yeah.
And it is very exceedingly difficult to make that happen. And society isn't fair, man. Like we don't structurally, systematically, we do not treat warriors the way that they should be treated. Because look, the conditioning and the understanding of what it takes to achieve a level of proficiency to be effective in combat is a very different understanding of what the stakes are and what you could lose than what you have if I don't make a deadline at a corporate job on a Friday afternoon, right? It's a very different thing. It's a big gap there. So, and if you look historically, there are very, very few cultures that try and mesh warrior class and civilian class. There was always a separation between warrior class and civilian class because they're two different codes. They're two different ways of living life. They're two different ways of viewing opposition and adversity and stress. One is reactive, right? We have a threat, demolish it, man. Just obliterate whatever that threat is, right? The other one is, well, there's a potential threat. Well, let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. What's going to be a productive thing where no one gets hurt? So it's two different things. What we are now demanding of our people is, I want you to be a massive lion, just being able just to be a savage here. And then when you come home, I need you to be a teddy bear, right? But not giving them the skills and the tools to do it, because let me tell you, man, it is not easy, and it's not easy, and it takes time. Like it takes a lot of time to unwind all of that, and you don't ever fully unwind it because and you guys know this, they're defining pillars in who you are as a human being. When you are dealing with stress response system, fight or flight at that level, holy smokes, man. How many civilians in a first world country can relate to that? Not a lot. Not a lot, right? So I digress, man. I'm sorry. I went a little left there. So,
No,
Alex,
I mean,
what's your question?
Our train of thought takes a dirt road all the damn time.
Yeah, tell me about it, dude. I can go 50 different avenues.
No, I think like the way you said that though earlier, like I think that like the separation between the two classes, like there's the one specific society, specifically in ancient history, that pops to mind immediately, and that's the freaking warrior class of Rome. Rome, like the soldiers, they were held in such high regard back then. The way it was almost as if like they were the athletes of their time, aside from the gladiators. It was insane.
Well, dude,
like,
think about that scene from 300. It's like, what is your job? Carpenter. What is your job? Baker.
Spartan!
Yes, that's exactly
profession.
Oh, he's like, yeah. Oh, dude, I just got pumped up. What? Oh,
no, dude. Yeah. It's so true though, right? Like the idea of understanding the ethos and the code of a Roman legionnaire, right? Like what it meant to be a part of something that is outside of the civilian class that you are raised and trained to protect, right? There's an automatic identification, like in your own management of who you are as a sheepdog. Like you understand my job is to protect them, right? I am not them. I have to protect them, right? Yeah. That's a big shift, man. Like that, I could tell you, like coming from the executive protection world, it's like if I put myself on a even playing field with my client, no, I am there to make sure that they do not get hurt by any means necessary, whatever that looks like. I can't sit there and actually look at them eye to eye and say we're on the same playing field, because at the end of the day, I'm being asked to put my life in front of theirs, right? And take that bullet for them, right? And so it's similar. It's different, right? Because it's not a constant state of combat like you guys have experienced, but the mentality, right, of putting others before yourself and being okay with it because it's part of our code. And Civilian class will tell you the opposite. Like in business, do that and see what happens, right? You're not. It's very hard to be successful. Like you have to be selfish. You have to be stingy, and well, right. And it's there are ways to do it, but man, like very few people understand how to do that to where it's
hard to
conducive
mesh.
and mutually beneficial.
Yeah, it's
Mouthful.
Doesn't exactly work out all the time. So is there anything else you want to add to that for the military side?
Yeah, so military side. So I think one of the biggest things there is being able to get realigned, right? And so like challenges that you see, operational tempo. The operational tempo that is maintained in the military is vastly different. Now, here's the flip side of that. The amount of stimuli that you're having to manage and deal with as a civilian is much higher. It's much greater, right, than what is that you have to deal with when you're deployed out. I had so many guys that I worked with that, dude, they wanted to go back to combat because life was a whole lot more simple, right? I had one objective, right? And whatever that was is going to define if I'm successful or not. And I have my dudes who I love and I trust that are going to help me get there. I come home, I have to wear all these different hats.
Right. It's like with all the stimulus you're bringing in a civilian world, you guys are just like, and this. And when you're overseas, like all that stimuli just kind of gets in it.
Yes.
You say that. And it's like it's one of those like really profound things because I had to come to a realization. This is kind of like a little come to Jesus moment for me recently, where I had to really kind of think about just how, because this just lets you know just how long it takes you to still come. I'm still coming down from it, and I fucking deployed like back in fucking 2007.
Yep.
So.
We're getting old, bro.
I know. Dude.
True.
Just dealing with, because I'm used to, for example, like I'm a big gamer, so I tend to game a little bit. Hint, hint, wink, wink. So when I'm in the zone and like whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm playing, like I'm in that zone. But then like once I'm out of it, and I realize I'm like having to deal with, okay, Bab, we got to fix the toilet. Okay, Daddy, I did this. What do you mean you did that?
Are you bleeding?
He hit me. What?
Okay.
What? And it's almost like in your mind, like this was your focus, right? And then all of a sudden, because now you have your family and everything to worry about, it just went from this to
the blinders really just
and you're just like, and for me, I've noticed that it tends to be more of a stressor. Like you get more stressed out because, I mean, you're not in danger, but you're on such high alert. You just. And you get tense because of all the things that you're having to deal with.
So I'm so glad that you mentioned that, Alamo. And the reason why I say that is because your stress response system is your stress response system in the sense of rudimentary neurohormones, right? So we've got cortisol, epinephrine, norepinephrine, adrenaline, right? Take your pick. But when we get into fight, flight, or freeze, it's the same stuff that's getting released. So the same hormones that would release when I get pulled over by a cop and I'm like, am I riding dirty? And and if I'm getting shot at, neurohormonally, it's the same dump, right? It's the same stuff that's going through. It's just the volume and how long it lasts.
Yeah.
So when you think about, I'm stuck in traffic and I'm super pissed and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be late. I got to go home. I am literally putting my body right through the same neurohormonal dump as if I'm in a firefight. Yeah. Right now, what ends up happening? There's no burn off, dude. When I'm in a gunfight, I'm shooting, moving, communicating, right? And I'm actually being able to do something to burn down whatever that threat is. When I'm sitting in traffic, I just stew, right? Like, and then, or if I'm dealing with issues with my spouse or my children or work or whatever it is, and it manifests and it manifests.
That's probably not the best example because I doubt you and your wife have had too many problems.
Oh no, man! You kidding me? I'm a very lucky man. I will tell you that, man. My wife is beyond just amazing. She puts up with a lot. But
shout out to me.
Yes, absolutely, man. She is amazing. But no, man. So it's really important to understand that your body, your mind, from a neuroscience perspective, we have this thing called neuroplasticity, right? And this is this idea that there's different areas of your brain that can mesh with one another. It's not all hardwired, right? There's some soft stuff that's going on. So, for example, right, if I were to tell you, all right, Alamo, there are certain things, certain movements, certain things that you can understand with shooting a rifle that will translate into archery, right? Well, what's actually happening? I am taking a basic marksmanship understanding and fundamentals of a projectile leaving my body and going somewhere else, and I'm applying it. I'm meshing them together. We're talking about jujitsu, right? That is neuroplasticity, right? Because I'm talking about combative principles that have to do with close quarter combat, aka intimate, close, right? But at the same time, if I were to take it at a 40,000-foot macro view, I can apply those same principles to a strategic gunfight, right, on a field of battle, right? So it's all relative in how it is that you're applying it and the scale to which you're applying it. It's just a question of tactics, strategies, and attributes, right, that are going to shift from one to the other. The challenging part is that when you're doing that with stress, and how do you deal with that stress at that moment in time? Dude, it is incredibly complex, because it's not just about the stressor. It's about all the different things that you're thinking about subconsciously and consciously being mixed together, as opposed to when I'm deployed out and on active duty and I'm in a gunfight, I'm just in the gunfight. Like that is life right now, not all this other stuff, right? So that's where a lot of the guys that I worked with, that's where they had that preference. Now, on the veteran side, right? So outside of active duty and switching on the veteran side, it's tough, man, because you get into an element of losing identity, losing who you are, right? Because that brotherhood, that camaraderie, the fight defined you, right? Like the fight, even if you were not actively in it, right, you were always prepping for it, right? And so there's that thing, that anticipation that brought everyone together, and there's that common enemy, right? Especially for as long as we were in combat. I mean, what was it, 21, 22 years in active war? How long were between OIF and OEF?
21.
Right? 21 years.
Afghanistan was 21 years.
Right? I mean,
right at 20.
So, like, dude, it's not like you're going into the military back then, like in peacetime, and like, oh no, you're going to fight. Like that's the deal, right? So, when you come back to the civilian world, and what is the fight? Like what is the thing that has that level of meaning, right? Because now it's just surviving. It's just being able to pay the bills. It's being able to be a productive citizen in society, right? Being able to be a good husband or a good boyfriend or whatever it is, right? So it's much more complex, and that is why you see a lot of issues with addiction. That is why you see a lot of issues with depression. You see a lot of issues with being able to maintain employment. You see a lot of issues with physical fitness, right, in general, because of the depression, right? So, and then just, dude, lack of feeling like you have a tribe. Like, are you feeling that you belong, right? Because you think differently, you look at things differently. But there's a 1% of the population out there that can relate to you. But 1%, when you're competing against 99% that you have to blend in with, that's tough, dude. Like, that's really, really tough, right? So being able to find outlets that provide that kind of camaraderie, that's why it's so important. And and not to say, man, that cognitive behavioral therapy isn't efficacious, because it is, right? There's a time and a place for it. But when you're talking about the psychology of someone who's dealing with PTS, I don't like calling it PTSD. I think the disorder side of it needs to get dropped, right? Because it's a very common thing, right, for most human beings to adapt to those situations of survival, right? You're gonna be hypervigilant, right? You're not gonna be able to sleep because you're worried about when the next mortar's coming in, right? Like, there's certain templates that are playing in your mind that kept you alive, right? And so we have failed miserably as far as the transition is concerned, and equipping and empowering guys and gals to be able to reassimilate and reacculturate back into society. That is why this idea of relinquishing the warrior ethos completely, like, you're no longer that Marine, you're no longer that soldier, right? Now you're going to be Billy Bob that works for FedEx or Amazon. Nothing wrong with that, right? But the meaning that goes into what that is to you changes.
And I find that so hard that you can just drop that. I mean, especially when you have guys like myself and this guy over here on my left, who, 9/11 was such a big part of who we are and how we joined the military. It's like, he was a freshman, I was a senior in high school, and it's just like, we just saw our country get attacked. Like, I'm gonna fucking stand up and do my part to that. And now we're gonna take all that and just, okay, forget all that. We're not at war anymore.
I had just moved from New York months before that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, dude. That's craziness, man. Holy smokes!
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
We still got to take the bro trip though. Check all that shit out.
Ooh.
So okay, so kind of carrying on with that. What are some of the bad habits that you see service members that are separating out of the military that they carry, bad habits or behavior patterns or whatnot that they carry into the civilian world?
Yar.
Okay, so, dude, so communication is a big one, right? Lack thereof, right? So being able to communicate effectively with what it is that you're actually feeling, right? And what do I mean by that? With your brothers, no problem, right? Because there's an understanding, right? You could like be naked around them and whatever, like we're bros, so whatever, right? We've been baptized together through combat and through traumatic.
Why is it always involve male nudity? Like, damn it! Like, come on, man.
I mean, dude,
Like,
come on. You guys are Army grunts, bro. Like, seriously, come on now.
Hey, bro, check it out. Eggs over easy.
I mean, Mac, you forget, right? What one of my brothers is Danny Alvarez, right? Captain Army Infantry. So being around him, bro, come on now.
By the way, shout out to Danny. Congratulations on your election there, pal.
Future Representative Alvarez.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So, so communication. Now, breaking it down, right? So, what is communication? Well, what's the point of it, right? Well, the point of communication is to commune. Well, what's commune? It's to share, right? Well, why do I share? To build community, right? And so, if I don't understand how those three things are related, and they all have the same etymology, right? It's just a different application. If I don't understand why it is that it's important for me to be able to articulate what I'm feeling and how I'm feeling, and more importantly, know how to put myself in the other person's shoes. Dude, it's impossible. It's hard. It's hard for I've got a PhD in this stuff, and it's hard for me to do it, right? Like, let alone someone who has dealt with the level of trauma and stress and dislocation, right, that someone in the military has. So that communication is number one. Number two, so purpose. Being able to really understand that sense of purpose. Where do I belong, right? Something that I do every single time I have the opportunity to work with combatants. Doesn't matter domestically or internationally, whatever. I ask them to define themselves. All right, how do I do that? I literally will sit there, give them a clean sheet of paper, and I will give them 20 minutes. And I say, I want you to write your own personal constitution. I want you to tell me everything that you stand for. So if I was a complete stranger, I will know that when I interact with you, what to expect. You look at the U.S. Constitution, it's clear as day, right? What it is this country stands for, right? So it would be amazed at how many guys and gals, when I ask them to do that, they don't know where to begin, right? Because what defined them was the fight, and it was the people to their left or to the right. They never gave themselves the opportunity to understand who they are to themselves. Right. And that's that's any human being, let alone someone who has been to this level of trauma and stress. Right. And so that matters very much in an identity management perspective. And then number three, patience. I cannot tell you how many times I saw guys and gals, man, like patience level was null. Right. Because it's like needs to happen now. Like not tomorrow, not yesterday, now. Right. So yeah, and the
sense of urgency, that sense of just like it needs to get done like 15 minutes ago. That's why I told you about it. Yeah,
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. So, and you know, these all lead to different things, man. You know, you start talking about symptomology, like, you know, whether it's the insomnia, the hypervigilance, you know, not being able to carry employment, not being able to cope appropriately. And when I say appropriately, meaning in a healthy way. Well, what is healthy? Well, what's socially acceptable? Right. And that's some of the beautiful things about having that camaraderie when you're in a group training environment. Dude, whether it's CrossFit, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, judo, whatever. Right. But it's this idea that there is this core group of people and you're pushing through adversity together. That is missed because the adversity that I feel to have a deadline for an email on a Tuesday afternoon is very different than the adversity that I feel when someone is trying to choke me out. Right, or when someone is punching me in the face over and over again, and I need to do something about that, right? So it matters because that's baptism through fire, right? And that's what really, really signifies meaning to guys who've been there and done that, like you guys have.
That's very enlightening. That's
a mouthful, y'all. That's a mouthful.
No, but like you're sitting here, and I'm like, you're talking about, you know, the communication. I'm like, yeah, and I was like, patience. I'm like.
Yeah.
He's talking about me. Shit. We're transparent on this show, but damn it. Like,
brother, that's everybody, man. Like that's, you know, You know what I'm saying? Like, but
the
the whole thing is
transparency
that
part of it's important. It's
it is, right? And
you know.
and then here's the big thing, man: the alignment factor, right? Like, are you aligned? Well, aligned with what? Like, what does that even mean, man? Like, how do I know? Like, prime example: if I were to ask you both right now, Mac, what's your value system? Alamo, what's your value system? Right? What are the top 5 things that you value? I guarantee you guys will be able to give me an answer in 30 seconds, right? It's a pretty simple, basic question, right? And most people carry a lot of very similar values, right? When it comes to that kind of a proposition. But if I were to ask you guys in a very real sense, every single day that goes by, how true are you to those values in every single decision that you make? That changes things. So in a very real sense, that's immediate misalignment, which means you're in conflict with yourself. And if you're in conflict with yourself, Mac, where are you going? Don't you hide from me.
You said that, and I was like, "Oh, he's picking on me again." No, but that's. I mean, that's That's all I can say is yes. Like,
No, man, but
yes, that
it's
question
real,
was
dude.
like,
Yeah, man.
absolutely.
Real talk.
Real talk.
Keeping it 100, folks, here on the Battle Bros podcast, baby. All right, so we're gonna kind of combine these next 2 bullet points
Hit me.
together. So, kind of want to get your take on, since you call it PTS, we'll take the D off there. We'll leave out the D. Talk about PTS and kind of your tips for maintaining.
Yeah, but where's the fun in that? I mean, wait, what are we talking about?
You can.
Yep, y'all infantry for sure.
So yeah, let's kind of want to get your take on PTS, and then also kind of give us what things we can do, or you can tell other people to do to just help them maintain their self mental health.
Yeah.
Or the mental health of others.
So this is where it gets interesting, man. So like, if I were to ask you guys, because most of you,
we just added 30 minutes to the length of this broadcast.
Hey-o. Like, for example, if I were to ask, all right, Mac and Alamo, at any given time, right, if you look at Cooper's colors, right, what color are you on a regular basis, right? Like, what would you say the average is?
Like, what color am I?
Yeah, like white, yellow, orange, red, black, like Cooper's colors, right? So like, are you guys familiar with Cooper's colors?
No.
Okay, my bad.
With that.
Totally my bad. Okay, so
good.
Cooper's colors, it's about a tactical mindset, right? So basically, white means that you're unprepared and you're
that
unready.
Cooper. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Colonel Cooper.
Yes. Okay, so all right, so you know what I'm talking about. So what color would you say that you guys are on a regular basis?
Probably yellow, maybe?
I was going to say probably yellow.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, and most people say yellow, right? So, and it's, you have a few people that say orange, right? But when you break down what it means to be quote unquote prepared, right? Because that's what yellow means. You're prepared. You're relaxed, right? But you're prepared for whatever may happen. That means there is a spike. There's a thing, an edge, right? Where your head's on a swivel, right? You're dialed in, right? And you're watching and you're waiting, right? Is that stress?
No, that is the nature of my life because of Uncle Sam kind of preparing me for life in the 2020s because of the fact that I was in the military. It's like, I mean, you say Cooper's colors, and it just reminds me of that great scene. And I'm sorry to you can dumb it down with a movie comparison, but there's that great scene in Jarhead where they go out to the Gulf and they're like, "You will hydrate, and you will train, and you will maintain a constant state of suspicious awareness, and you will dehydrate, and you will hydrate and train again." But it's like, yeah,
Mac, dude, you should have gone into stand-up comedy. I swear.
No. I don't want all those people I don't want all those people undressing me with their eyes going, ooh.
Oh my gosh, man. So, when you look at being in a state of call it like very minimal hypervigilance, right? As far as being prepared, like you're dialed in, right? But you're not overreacting. You're not broaching the orange, right? And then diving into the red.
Above average situational awareness.
Correct, right? Well, dude, here's the thing. Like it's taxing after a while, right? When you are in that constant, it's draining, right? Like, and believe me, I get it because my wife, I don't leave my house unless I'm wearing a gun. it doesn't. I don't care where we're going. Like I'm wearing a gun, right? That's not even a negotiable, right? But what comes along with that, right? It's all the other stuff that I'm thinking about at any given time, right? Having to deploy that weapon or not, right? And then having to maintain retention. And what does that mean? Like, you guys know all the tactical stuff that goes into that stuff, right? So, like, dude, when I get home, I'm exhausted, right? Like, and that's not even dealing with the symptomology of like very advanced PTS, right? That's just minimal stuff, right? So you take everything else on top of that, and then you look at what are you doing to give yourself the opportunity to legitimately apply that neuroplasticity to kind of start to rewire how you're looking at a threat and the presence of a threat, because that's another thing. Dude, you could train to fight Putin himself, right? But at the end of the day, if the probability of that threat is
a bad idea.
Like that,
that guy goes and bear hunts with
bro,
shirt on in Siberia with a
all right, dude,
knife. Like,
sign
that guy is
up.
insane,
dude. I don't care if he's a judo black belt. Bring it, son. Bring it.
I mean, unless you're gonna sit out there in the Siberian snow and just take your junk out and just smack him across the face, it's like, all right. Uncle Sam says, "Hey, bitch." Anyway, so sorry, I'm not trying to start
you
up on the international.
American? You think you so big stuff?
Who the fuck you think you are?
Why don't you take out bear with bare hands?
I'm gonna turn into Ricky Bobby so fast. Listen here, bitch. You don't know about liberty. You don't know about freedom. So why don't you just go ahead and break my arm, peppy little bitch? Oh, he broke it. So sorry, side trail. My bad. Like I said, this is amazing that we get to do a podcast, because like we get on a damn meeting twice a week and we're just like sitting here online. If Google knew that we did all the dick dancing that we did on the freaking Google app, it's just like, we gotta shut these guys. So.
Oh man, but you know, here's the thing about that, right, man? So when you're talking about things like PTS, you're talking about rehab and recovery for your brain that has been through a lot of chronic stress, right? There's three things that matter: your physical health, your mental health, and your social health, right? So physical, mental, social components. Well, when you look at your life in the military, you had all three. There were physical requirements, you had PT requirements, right? From a mental perspective, you need to be able to do your job and do your job well, right? And bring the right attitude to work. If not, there were very real consequences. Whether you wanted to do them or not, you had to do them, right? And then socially, you can't fight the camaraderie. Like, you're in really crappy situations together, and you have to learn how to make lemonade out of those lemons, right? And so when you come out and you are neglecting physical, mental, social, or even if you're just neglecting one, there is a shift in balance and equilibrium, right? And you're off, you're misaligned, right? And so it's being able to understand and legitimately map, what do I need to achieve optimal physical health? What do I need to achieve optimal mental health, and then social health? And let me start actually making decisions and choices to fuel a lifestyle that will help me cope with the stress that I have been through, as well as the stress that is to come. Because that's just the nature of the beast, right? Life is a nonstop roller coaster, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, right? So you've got to be able to equip yourself with the right mentality. But if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not giving yourself the self-respect, right, to take care of yourself, to be the good dad, to be the good husband, to be the good employee, the good business owner, at the end of the day, go back to what you stand for. Who are you as a person? Because you're telling me all these things: honesty, loyalty, integrity, whatever those values are, right? Well, dude, that all starts with you being honest with yourself, you being loyal to yourself. And if you're not doing that, how do you expect to do it to other people? And if you're not taking care of yourself, that's the ultimate disrespect.
All right, so let's stop. Let's do a hard stop right there.
I'll say this:
be fucking honest with yourself first, people.
Yeah.
Judge yourself before you go judging others.
Big time.
I think a great analogy to even kind of betterfy it, because my gamer geeky ass is thinking about it. How do you navigate the Mario Kart Rainbow Road of Life?
I got nothing on that one, dude. I got nothing.
And that's because he watched the new damn trailers. Like, dude, you see the trailer? It looked awesome.
Is there a new one coming out?
There's an animated
movie. Yes.
Super Mario Brothers the movie, and it's like animated. Like the live action one back in the day wasn't bad for being an 80s movie. I mean, you had Dennis, whatever. You had Dennis Hopper playing King Koopa, but it was all like, it was kind of a little bit cheesy, but this one's like,
So
John
Retro
Leguizamo
just
playing Luigi.
I'm about to throw you guys overboard. You ready for this? The last gaming system that I owned was the original Nintendo.
Nice.
True story. And I was 8.
Do-do-do-do-do-do.
That is the last time, dude. Like, I have cousins that have all the new stuff, and I'll go over and play sometimes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is addicting.
See now, like, so it's funny because Alamo talks about gaming and playing like Call of Duty, that kind of genre of game. I can't play those fucking things because I'm like, how the hell do you take a knee and cover the fucking blind corner? Holy shit! Is it triangle? Is it R3? Is it trigger 2? Shit! What the fuck? Like just all over the place. You just can't. I'm like, I don't know. I can do it in real life.
Pushing joystick forward. Tap the circle button.
All I know
and
is
then
up,
fire.
up, down, down, left, right, X, triangle, square, triangle, circle.
Oh my gosh, that is great, man. That is great. I love it. I love it.
My mom would kick your ass in Dr. Mario on Super NES. She starts off on level 20 and goes from there. It's like she didn't even fuck around. Like, fuck around. She's the original example of fuck around and find out.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love it. I love it.
So that being said, tips for maintaining mental health.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
we talked. You kind of hit on that a little bit, but let's kind of like let's go into that.
Dude,
just a
Let's
little bit more.
elaborate.
Let's talk. So just some rudimentary stuff. So let's start with the physical, right? So the diet.
Rudimentary is basic for all of us. 11 bang bangs, 11 Charlies.
Boom. Right. So like,
or you
diet.
0311 crayon munching fuckers. We love you guys too. Goddamn marine grunts and stuff. I know you guys are your own special breed, but hey,
you guys are not going to like this, right? But this is a very real thing, right? So first and foremost, got to cut out alcohol, right? You got to say goodbye to the booze, right? And the reason why I say that, it's not so much about the addiction side of it, right? It's more of actually what it does, right, to your neurons and your synapses. It kills them. Right, in a very real sense. Now, look, I'm not saying not to drink at all. What I'm saying is habitually and chronically, right? You want to give yourself a day or two out of the week to have a glass of wine, a couple beers. All right, man, cool, right? But the daily stuff, no bueno, right?
And that's where a lot of guys have problems coming back home. Is they go
exactly right.
However long, 6-9 months, and they come back home and thinking, oh, I can still pound it like I used to. And next thing you know, they've wrapped their fucking car around a tree at 150
100%.
miles an hour.
Yeah.
110%, man. So
Stop
that's a
being
very real thing.
Stupid. Come on, guys.
Right. Dude, got to drink water, right? Basic, but water very much matters, right? Especially when you're talking about
hydrate or die.
Right? It is
hydrate or die.
Big deal, dude. Leafy greens. You got to freaking down some spinach and kale, man. That is like vital, right, for your neurological health.
Spinach, yes. Kale.
No, you don't do kale, dude. You don't.
I'll do spinach.
I got the green superfoods powder that I add to my
Bam. Yep, I rock with that every morning, man. Green Vibrance. That stuff is bam. Get you rocking and rolling.
I mean, I had Gino one time. He's like, "You want to do a smoothie, man? Put avocado in that shit." I'm like, "What?"
True story.
Fuck yeah!
True story.
And I was just like, "I'm like, come on, man." I'm
Bro,
just
avocado
like,
Good cholesterol, good oils for your
yes,
body, freaking
yes.
perfect for your skin too. And your freaking
please don't tell me the world is flat. I'm like, what the fuck else do I not know at 30-something years old? I'm like, I'm just living in a dream world.
Bro, I can answer that question for you because I'm right there with you. We don't know jack. I can tell you right now, we don't know jack.
We don't know shit.
Oh man, so that exercise, man, and look, however you want to do that. If you're a runner, run. If you lift. Like you've got to do things to put your body into a state to where you're going to start releasing endorphins, right, and be able to have that burn off for that stress that you feel, and be able to do something with the neurohormones that exist. I encourage both you guys and the audience to take a look into a guy named Robert Sapolsky. Right, Dr. Robert Sapolsky out of Stanford University. He has a book called "Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers." Right, it is a pivotal out of the 300 books that I utilize in my dissertation research. His is probably the one I use the most.
I'm probably gonna read that just because of the damn title. It's like, why zebras
amazing.
don't get ulcers?
Dude, it's amazing. Just YouTube
okay.
and watch his lectures. Right, it's absolutely fascinating the work that he has done.
Robert Sapolsky.
Sapolsky, Sapolsky. Yes, Sapolsky. So
already found him.
Yeah, I highly recommend. So when you take a look at stress response in general, right, and the need for us to have a physical burn off of it, when you start taking a really close look at what happens with some, for example, cancer patients or immunodeficiency disorders, right, like stress is very real, because what does stress end up doing that is chronic? It will shorten your telomeres, right? From a genetic perspective in your DNA, right? Now, what is that, and what does that even mean? That means that there's this field, right, that we have called epigenetics. Epigenetics means the influence that your environment has on your genetic expression, your genetic makeup. So if I were to tell you this, Alamo, for example, Alamo, look, man.
Yeah, that's right. Pick on him for a minute. I'm good.
If you keep, out of a scale from 1 to 10, right, on a Likert scale, if you keep your stress level sub 3, you may be predisposed for cancer, right? But if you don't let yourself get to a 6 or a 7 chronically, that gene will never express itself, right? So that is the idea of epigenetics. Now, what is stress? Let's go back to that. How do I navigate stress? How do I keep myself in a low state of stress, right? And I'll deal with spikes, but it's the chronic nature of it, which is often associated with things like PTS, right? It is a chronic thing, hence why a diagnosis comes into place. So that is this idea of, look, man, you have got to learn how to master yourself. And once you can master yourself, you can make sense of your environment. If you can make sense of your environment, you know what is worth being stressed over and what is not. The challenging part is when there's ambiguity, right? Because ambiguity means you don't know, and your brain automatically interprets ambiguity as danger. So it gets you rocking and rolling, man, and it will push you from yellow to orange, right, in Cooper's colors, right? And so that's a really important thing. So that's another facet of it, right? So there's the exercise component, the diet component, obviously the sleep component, very important. And look, I'll just put it out there, but like sexual health matters as well, right? Having that sort of interaction and relationship for multiple reasons, psychologically. Here we go. Yeah, I knew it. I knew it.
Funny because it's funny because okay, so to derail this thing completely,
yeah, I just threw a wrench in the whole thing.
Oh no, but I'm sitting there thinking like my dumbass 11 bang bang self sitting there. It's very important to master yourself. I'm like, oh, I thought you were going to say something else. Shit, I've done plenty of that in a porta shitter over in a third world country and get Uncle Sam to pay for it.
Oh man,
you come out sweating just a little bit more than normal. The guys are looking at you like, yeah.
Well, I just ran 3 miles.
I'm going to do a solid plead the fifth, gentlemen. A solid plead the fifth. Oh my gosh, man. So it's important
for all those guys out there. Come on, if you've done it, this is like Garantham will do. This is like if
it's one of those things. It's one of those things.
Subscribe button. Yeah, absolutely.
It's one of those things where you just go, if you know, you know.
Hashtag if you know, you know.
Oh my gosh, man. So no, man.
I'm sorry we weren't exactly forthcoming with what our.
Hey, brother, listen, man. This is your world, man. I'm just chilling. This is y'all's show. I'm just here for the popcorn and a good convo.
But those in spades.
Heyo.
Anyway.
But no, man. Those things are important, right? And so outside of that is, dude, social networks, right? Like this is probably the most difficult thing for a lot of the veterans that I worked with. Pushing yourself to create new relationships that have not been battle tested, right? Like the idea of I have to be vulnerable, right? I have to be willing to open myself up to somebody that I don't have history with, and I have to be willing, right, to like share things. And how are they going to react, and what's their expectation, and what's mine, and what if they disappoint me because I don't know what they're made of. Like I don't know what the fabric is. Alamo and Mac, right now, if I dropped you guys off into an austere environment, right, where you didn't know anybody else, the sense of comfort that you guys would have that you have each other would be what? Amazing. It'd be enormous. It'd be everything.
I'm going to hug him and cry for a minute and be like, all right, let's get to work.
It'd be everything, right? It would be everything. It's because you guys have been there and done that, right? Well, if I drop you off with someone you've never met before, and now it's like, all right, dude, you've got minimal water and food, you've got no weapons, and there's nobody anywhere, and you're in grizzly bear country. You got to survive for a month. Good luck.
All right, shooting him, taking his shit. The grizzly bear is going to go to him. Like, we're good. I'm just going to fucking hightail the fuck out of there.
But it's a mentality shift, right? So, like, you have got to push yourself to create new social connections, right? Because that has everything to do with having a sense of tribal community, which very much matters in your own identity. Here's the thing with human beings, man. Like, the only reason why we survived like T-Rex and saber-toothed tigers is because we had each other. Why? We had fire, we had spears. We had this idea that if we come together and use our brains, we can survive. Well, same thing, Mac, you're going to know this, right? Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The first baseline level of that pyramid, right? If you do not have this idea, right, of dependence, right? And let me just stop there for a second. Let me just ask you both a question. When I say the word dependence, right, do you take that as something that is a weakness or something that is a strength?
I would say that it depends on the situation.
Okay. All right.
Same.
Okay.
So, like, if we're talking about people, like, depending on others, look what happened with my mom. Like, she kind of depended on me to keep things going for a while.
Yeah.
If I can go out into the woods and go just kind of get off grid for a while and just depend on myself to be able to go out there and just kind of unplug and, unwind and stuff. And if I can depend on not having to depend on, if I can have the experience where I don't have to depend on other people, like, that's going to be enjoyable as hell for me. What about you, Macho? What do you say? What do you say to that? Because we're kind of we're throwing monkey wrenches into the works. He's throwing curveballs over here. I'm like,
Hey-o.
I know.
Like, dependence, good, bad, go.
Well, no, I'm thinking.
Is that the smoke, or did you get elected Pope?
Wow.
Hey, let's not blaspheme up on this shit. We don't need rebuttals and stuff coming from the Vatican. It's like, these two guys about to
How
blow,
dare you? You make fun of the Pope.
We're going to poison the cannolis, you little shits. Anyway,
listen to me. I have a wise guy come over to your house.
okay, it's from the Vatican. He's not from
Roma-
Jersey. Jesus.
No, wait, what? Sorry.
Dependence,
Oh,
good,
shit.
bad, go.
Squirrel.
Yeah.
We had a few, but that's all right. We're gonna roll with it.
Okay. I don't know, man. It's kind of a mixed bag for me, to tell you the honest truth.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of a mixed bag for me. Because like, you know what? We'll come back to that.
Come back to it, right?
Yeah, we'll come back to it.
But so bringing it full circle, right? Why do I ask that, right? Because if you look at this thing that's called Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right, which is essentially a pyramid rung of everything that a human being needs to reach self-actualization. Self-actualization is being able to optimize this thing, right here, which allows us to create community and have complex communication systems and be strategic and everything that's allowed us to rise, right, in the food chain the way that we have. But the first baseline of that is physiological needs and safety, right? That's what Maslow said, right? Who's a world famous freaking psychologist, right? But there's a bit of a deficiency there because let me ask you both this. When you both were born, the moment that you came out of your mother's womb, if someone just dropped you off in the middle of a forest, nobody around, right? What would have ended up happening to you in the next 72 hours?
I'd have been eaten.
Yeah.
100%.
Some
right?
kind of predator would have came in.
So we are born innately from a safety perspective to depend on somebody else, right?
Yeah.
So from infant, that the moment I am born, I need another human being to be able to do this thing called life, right? That never leaves us. And so when we're sitting there saying, I'll do it on my own, I got this, right? Well, that's fine in short stints, but it doesn't necessarily translate to a longitudinal relationship. So in the military, you understand that. You understand that I have a specific job, and that job's going to be able to allow my guy to do his job, and so on and so forth. There's a domino effect there to be able to achieve the objective in the mission. Well, when you're a civilian and you're coming back and you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, because you have to be a good dad, you have to be a good employee, you have to be all these different things, right? In addition to a good friend. Dude, things start getting burned out real fast because you start getting lonely. And so that is why I tell you guys the importance of social connection, because our identity depends on it. People are witnesses to our existence. If nobody ever witnessed that you existed, Mac, like the moment you were born, boom, sent you off to the moon. No other human being in sight. What actual value and impact would your existence have? What would it matter? Nothing, right, to humanity. Not at all, right? So
I would find the only good thing was, like, I would find ways to entertain myself. I'd be sitting there just like,
but here's the thing, right?
You think my happy ass around on the moon and shit.
Yeah, but you think you would, right? But what is entertainment, right? You wouldn't know a lot of these things, right? Because
there's a vacuum of any stimuli and all that stuff.
100%. I'm totally nerding out on you guys right now, so sorry.
Dude. dude.
But does that make sense though? Right, the idea of social connection and why it matters from a dependency perspective. That and that's a hard one, man, because like we pride ourselves on being independent. Like, no, I got this. Like, I'm good. Like, I don't need any help. Well, dude, there's a good amount of pride and ego that's mixed in with that, right? And that's because of what you've been through and how you identify yourself and what you're capable of. You know what you're capable of, but it doesn't mean it transcends to every single thing where you're going to need the help of other people. So that's the physical, mental, social. So, Mac, you asked me what tips would I give? Obviously, the physical, that's pretty basic. Most people, they know it, but they just don't do it, right? Because it's hard to do it and actually maintain it and be consistent with it, right? Yeah. And then on the mental side, man, knowing yourself, like asking those hard questions and defining yourself to yourself and making sure that you're aligned. So list the top 5 things that you value as a person, and every single decision that you make, right? Are those values being actually represented and carried out, or are they contradictory? Most people, we contradict ourselves every single day, right? And that builds up tension and that builds up stress. And then eventually you crack.
All right, so now it's my turn for a curveball. So you just talked about the communication, like, communication with other folks and stuff.
Yeah.
Social communication. So how much, pros and cons of having social media involved in that social communication? Because something that we've talked about before.
Cheeky. That's a cheeky one.
So here's something that Almo's actually talked about before, and he actually got me doing this, is him and his wife both do what they call the social media purge, where they go for about a week and they don't get on that stuff. They just stop. They like cold turkey that shit. And they're just like, all right, see you in a week. Bye.
Yep.
So, and I've found, like, doing that, I'm like, you know what? That's kind of nice to unplug, literally unplug and shit. So what are your thoughts on social media with, social communication, pros, cons, and things to look out for? Oh, he's like, let me get into this.
Oh, you want to go? We're going to go. Dude, so here's the thing with social media, like anything else. So we talked about alcohol, right? The idea of you got to cut alcohol. Okay, well, what does that mean? That means moderation. Well, what is moderation? A day or two a week. Don't get plastered, right? Like, have an occasional drink and you're good. Well, social media is no different. Well, as a society, what have we done with social media? We are freaking addicted to it. It is a defining pillar. How many likes?
It is electronic. It is electronic and virtual alcohol.
100%. It's addiction, right? And that's exact. And here's the bad part: it's addiction that is tied with social connections, right? And so there's a lot more impact and meaning and depth that comes along with that, right? So, at a 40,000 foot view, Mac, social media is a beautiful tool. It's an awesome thing to keep people connected. But when it is a factor that you depend on to identify who you are as a person for validation and affirmation,
which happens a lot,
boy, you are shooting yourself in the foot, right? Because look, you guys all know this: 95% of the stuff that people post is not even real, right? And so they're playing pretend. Now, talk about a misalignment.
I do want to say, let's keep this to the social connection, the social media connection. Let's not even get into the social dating, because we know that whole realm is fucked. So let's just stay away from that one, man.
So. Yeah, no, but I mean, like, but all those things they matter. Yeah, dude. No, man.
I'm watching Almo's expression. He's just like, bro.
Yeah.
He communicated to me telepathetically, and he's like, bro.
Yeah, telepathetically. Telepathetically.
That's my word. That's my word.
But I mean, no, man. I guess a non, because I could talk about that one for hours.
Why the fuck do you have a fork in the middle of your camera? You're like, ooh, sporkle. What is this? I got a forky. What the hell did you do? Did you just squeeze that thing?
It's twisted.
Yeah, it's from the government. It's fine.
Wow.
Expect to self-rescue. Carry on. Anyway.
I must have pulled that out of an MRE. Great.
I speak words. I speak words. I stab thing with forks. Yeah. Anyway.
God bless.
Oh, Gino, you're being nice. He's just like, these two fucking idiots. Like,
Mac, you know me, man.
Show,
Come on now. But no, man. I
realize how dumb you look on the internet right now, my man. This ain't going away. It's always gonna be here. Please continue, man. Well, I'm gonna try to quit the derailments.
No, dude, it's all good, man. So, I mean, it's in moderation, right? Like at the end of the day, if you're using it as a tool to check on your buddies, right, and keep up with family, like awesome, man. But if you're using it to get your social fix on a daily basis, that's a problem. That's a definite problem. And I will tell you, you have seen a massive spike in mental health issues over the past 15 years in this country, and I personally contribute a lot of that to A, narcissistic culture, and B, social media fueling narcissistic culture, right? Because it's a very empty and hollow thing.
What if you just use it for dad jokes?
That falls under moderation.
Ooh.
And that falls under what's that line from either you live long enough to be the hero or you die.
Live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
There you go.
So
you can't go. Listen, if you're telling dad jokes, you're definitely not the villain. All right. I would argue that point. That'd be a good point for a paper on something.
Did you know that before the crowbar was invented, crows simply drank at home? Dad jokes. Basic dude stuff.
I was just gonna say, dude, that's got to be a Pat line, without a doubt, dude. Without it, which, by the way, I had a chance to meet that guy. That dude is a stud. He's an absolute stud. He really is.
As a member
when
of
you're
your
sitting
own
here,
personal security detail.
when you start talking, sitting there with that beautiful wife who's like, "Hey, Rebecca."
He's always doing it to his daughter. Yeah. There was one. It was one he told on a video. She goes, "I told you that one, Dad."
Dude, have you seen that dude train?
Yeah.
Like he's is he mid-50s?
Yep.
He is a freaking savage, man. Savage.
He's always gonna look like that. He's gonna be an old man looking ripped and chiseled like that. You're just like
freaking goals, man. He's a beast. And then his shooting is impeccable. Yeah, I mean that guy. I'd love to. I actually would love to take a class with him one day. I think that would be absolutely amazing.
I'd love to meet him.
Yeah. Without a doubt, man. Without a doubt. Cheeky.
Well, listen, Gino, I greatly. First and foremost, thank you for being on our show. But second and most importantly, thank you for keeping the conversation going. We kind of squirrel, off in the woods and all that kind of shit.
Brother, you and I are 10 years in, man. I know how to run that ship. Don't worry.
So I'm thinking,
hi there. My name is Doug, and I love you, squirrel. Hi there.
By the way, I totally see why you two are brothers. I'm just putting it out there. Dude, clear as day. Clear as day, my boys. Clear as day.
Dude, you get the two of us. I never told you this story, Gino. So one of the Alamo and I used to hang out a lot. Like
a lot.
He lived over here, not far from where I live, probably about 10 minutes away.
Nice.
Yeah, not very far at all.
So he still lived with his mom. They had a small little place off the main road over there. Actually, not over there by Chute Street.
Schniffner.
Over there in Steffner and whatnot. So we were fucking around one day, and we were gonna hang out, do something. So I just got in my car and I drove off, and I just see him just fucking book it. All of a sudden, he comes up and just jumps and goes, "Where are you going?" Like just straight up on top of the hood of my car.
Right on the hood of the car.
You forget something.
And he's driving out of the neighborhood going 20.
He literally just books it.
Dude, what are you, a gazelle? Like, who runs like that, dude? Oh my gosh.
It was my impression of the T-1000.
He got up on it and just like, going somewhere? You forget somebody? That's back when we were younger and we got away with
hilarious, man.
Dumb as shit.
What was even more hilarious was Mac's reaction, because he's like kind of extra when it comes to certain reactions. And he's just like, "Oh, how did you get on the hood of my car?"
Mac being extra with reactions, I never would have guessed. Never.
Listen here, ladies and gentlemen.
Stay in character, Mac. Stay in character.
Stay in character and quit picking on the fucking gringo. How about that shit? All right? God damn. Well, listen. Again, Gino, thank you so much for helping us close out our second
pleasure,
season,
brother.
man.
Yeah.
You guys want to get a little drinky?
We'll get you. We'll have you back on.
Hey, you guys just let me know when, man. It's a privilege and a pleasure, guys.
Do me a favor. talk to Senor Alvarez and tell him how much fun you had on the show.
Oh, he'll get in on this.
We
You know
got
he'll
him
get
on the interview list. I'm just like, hey man,
He'll get in. You know, he's campaigning hard right now, but I tell you now, once he's done with the elections, yeah, man. I mean, anytime, man, he gets an opportunity to speak with fellow vets, dude, he's all about it. He's that Joker is as pro-military and American as they get.
when he goes into Captain Alvarez mode, that's a different animal right there. She's like, yeah, that's my guy.
Full blown.
That's my guy.
Nice hand down the line.
So good.
Oh, it's great, man.
What you sipping on there, Mako?
I actually have this wonderful bottle of Havana Club that some special guy gave me a while back.
That's right. That's right.
It just happens to be to my right on the screen over here. I'm like, hey.
I'll be right back.
Look at what I got. So, but yeah, man, so to kind of give you the story, and since you're still on here, we're gonna start closing this out while he goes and gets his his fix. So, this started off, and this is me speaking to everybody at home and stuff, but this started off as kind of a mixed bag of things because we had a friend of ours, Alamo, and I had this friend John that used to work with us when we both worked at a gun store over together, and John was just like one of the best dudes in the world. John was funny. He was just a funny fucker, the nicest guy. He'd just be like, yeah, nice.
Hey, Mac, I got a pain in my shoulder. I'm just gonna bam.
Dude, that time that he took the picture, he stuck his hand in the copy machine like this and took that and slid that paper right in the cash drawer. So you're sitting there, all right, 1605, you're handing me 20. Fuck, it's right there on the goddamn till.
You got me so many times.
Oh god!
And then you'd see him at the end of the. This would be him at the end of the counter.
But yeah, so John was one of those rare guys that just made working so much fun. And we kind of fell out of touch with John, and that's unfortunate because John had some demons and whatnot, and
unfortunately,
John ended up deciding to solve a temporary problem with a permanent solution, and that's never the way that we want anybody to go. Everybody should be around. Everybody has a story to be told.
Yeah.
So when in the process of coming up with our idea, we talked about working together, and then we found out about John, and Alamo here was like, "Dude, let's do a podcast." I'm like, I don't know shit about a podcast. He's like, literally like, bro, they put a monkey in space. How fucking hard can it be? And I'm like, fair. That's a good question.
I honestly don't even know how I came with that statement. It was very on the fly.
But it was just so apropos. I'm like, oh, he's speaking to that little inner grunt in my heart right now. Absolutely. So
to prove that my heavy day's behind me, by the way. So,
oh, I'm sorry. You know what?
Look at that.
I'm jumping the gun a little bit. So I'm fucking up, man. We haven't been on this in 3 weeks. Like I'm all out of whack.
I'm only a small drinker.
But if you're Irish,
that's great, dude. I love that.
My good man, if you're Irish, you say you drink a wee bit. So anyway,
did you say that you drink just a wee bit?
Just a wee bit.
Oh, that's right.
Just a little bit of the shillelagh shake all the time. So before we cut off and we start closing out, I'm sorry, Gino, if you could kind of tell us a little bit like where people can find you. I know you have your book that you just came out with. So you have it's a book, I believe it's called The 7 Layers of Successful Relationships. Just kind of give us the brief synopsis. Look at that man is ready. He's had some training. Yes. So kind of give us the Cliff Notes synopsis of that book. Tell us
man.
That.
So essentially, I kind of on par with what we've been talking about, right? Like the main premise of the book, right, is that the quality and depth of relationship that you have with yourself will always define the quality and depth of relationship you can have with others, right? And so a really big thing that I push hard is understanding you so you can better relate. And if you can better relate, you can have a deeper quality with people. And if you have a deeper quality, that enhances your quality of life. Right. And so, and again, man, it goes back to the dependency thing and people and being tribal. And what does it take to actually achieve healthy and holistic community? Right. Because that's what relationships are. That's the whole point. Right. And so that the gist of it. And I will tell you, man, it has been used by both military personnel and civilian personnel. Matter of fact, I had the distinct privilege of doing a workshop for JSAL which is Joint Special Operations University, not too long ago. And prereq was them reading the first 3 chapters of that book. And man, it just opened the door to a lot of really meaningful discussion in my time with those guys and gals. So
I remember you saying you did that whole thing, and you were like, "Dude, I'm just emotionally I'm like, I need a breather."
Yeah,
like,
dude.
Because usually I went out there and talked, and it was just amazeballs, man.
It really was, man. It was probably one of the most impactful moments I've had, having the privilege of doing what it is that I do. So,
Nice.
but no, man. Yeah, the book, Amazon, it's sold at Barnes and Nobles as well. Most people buy it from Amazon. They do the download. They do the Kindle thing. I did not do an audiobook on purpose. I think audiobooks, I do them myself, right? But this is a book that I wrote with the intention of it being read once a year, every year, right? And because it's work, you've got to go through and really take your time to understand. If you're not willing to put in the work, then it's not the book for you. Right.
So it's in a manner of speaking, it's kind of like a textbook. You just go back and you're constantly kind of referring back to it. So
Yes.
once a year, I'm going to have to read this, and then I need to go back and win How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Boom.
Got it. Good.
This
shit.
guy.
Hey, man. That's something. My grandfather was like very big. He,
Love it.
for not being. I mean, this guy grew up during the Depression, and he was like. He only had a high school education, and he ended up being the president of a bank in Zephyr Hills and having a produce company and all this stuff. And he did this course, and he's like, "You graduated high school, you're a man. You're gonna sit down and read this book, and we're gonna talk about it." So, and we did, and it's like,
props to Grandpa, man. That's amazing.
Changed my fucking life, dude.
Yeah, that's amazing, dude.
So, is this something that you had a lot of fun writing this book? I take it.
Man, I wrote it. I always knew I wanted to write it, but COVID really gave me an opportunity to buckle down and knock it down. And
You're
then
saying
also,
COVID accomplished something good? Say that shit ain't so.
I'm just saying, man. You gotta get. I gotta get props for props due, man.
Shout out to COVID for shutting shit down and give me time to do my stuff. Yo.
So legit, dude. Like when I wrote it, I wrote it with the intention of, this is going to be like a little morbid, but whatever, it's the truth. So we had just found out that we were pregnant, right? And I'm thinking to myself, okay.
And by we, you mean your wife?
Yes, my wife. I know it's 2022, but no, yeah, it's my wife, not me. But one of those things, man, where I'm really big on. The Stoics call it Memento Mori, right? Memento Mori means remember death. Right, it means death can come. Yes. Death can come for you at any time. I
saw something on that this morning, man. There was a guy who was walking through some like old European cemetery. I think it might have been either in England, Ireland, or Scotland, because he was wearing a kilt and like traditional garb, and it had like this tombstone had like an hourglass that was over on its side and had skulls and all this stuff, like all the symbology. The symbolism. The symbolism, what all that shit meant.
Symbolism.
Yeah, and like I heard that this morning. I'm like, God, this is one of these episodes, man, where it's just like everything is just like cosmically lining up. You're just like, it's aligning, man. It's wild. Anyway, Memento Mori. Keep going.
No, dude. So yeah, man. So like it's and I thought to myself, okay, so if that's a principle that I live by, right? So really taking advantage of every day because it could be my last, right? And so if there's something that I could do that would last the test of time, that my daughter could have, that was always a piece of me and a piece of wisdom that I would want to instill in her, right? That is how I wrote this book, right? And so this idea of having something that she can have, her kids can have, their kids can have, that will always be a piece of me and how it is that I view the world based off of my research and my experiences and the wisdom that I have been given, that's been passed down by people much smarter than I am. So that is the premise of it, man. It was, okay, so if my daughter only knew a few things about me, what would I want her to know as far as how tools that she could use to actually help her in real life, right? And that's where the 7 layers came from.
Props. I can totally see that, man. Like, when you it's funny how the way you think about stuff changes. The minute that first kid or however many kids or that child appears, and you're just like, oh shit, I'm responsible for them.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
That's exactly right, dude.
All right. Cool. So it's called the 7 layers of successful relationships. People can Google search it. It'll show up in a couple different places.
Did you say sexful?
He absolutely did, and I wasn't going to call him out on it, but I'm so glad you did, bro.
Let me a little whistle. I got dry mouth going on, man. I'm Irish. You know, we talk a lot, so it's all good.
Oh, we know what mouth you got.
I'm going to leave that alone, and we're going to continue the fucking show. Anyway, so let me ask you this question, G. Is there... Alamo, take off the ass hat. Gino, is there going to be maybe any more, is going to be a delve into the writing world again in the future? Or
Yeah, man. I've got 5 books that it is my goal to have done by the time I'm well, gosh, in the next 4 years. So I've got 4 more books to go. So I've got a series of topics that I've already started the second one, and the third one I have the outline done for. So yeah, man, in the next 3 to 4 years, my goal is to have a total of 5.
I knew there was 2, but 5. I'm sitting there going, no wonder I don't ever
man.
see you, man. You're like in a freaking hole in a goddamn Barnes and Noble, just there drinking the cafe, Cuban coffee.
Café
just like,
con leche, café con
con
leche,
leche.
loco. Coño.
All right, good stuff. Well, I'm glad to hear about that. Do you have anything else like social media wise you want to plug, like anything where they can kind of check you out?
Links
or whatnot?
in the description to his
Yeah, we do
social
have a
media.
link down there, 7layers.com. All you got to do is just change the V with the number 7. So SE7EN layers.com. You can go check out the book and whatnot. I recognize a lot of the names getting reviews on there. I'm like, I know that guy. So, but good stuff. So we got good stuff coming down the road. That's good to know, man.
Absolutely,
More
man.
books. So I'm looking forward to. I'm going to pick up a copy of that soon and start reading that. I just got done with that one. So
awesome.
But Gino, listen, man. Very, 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 very appreciative that you were able to stop by the show and give us a chat on what we talked about, man. We're gonna put you backstage again. We'll see you back in a little bit. We're gonna finish up the show and we'll get you out of here at a decent time. It's already 10:30, so I'm sure the little one's already in bed. But see you in a bit, and appreciate it again, my man. Thank you so much.
Good, all right, thank you both. Great job, y'all.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Gino.
Thank you.
Oh, that was a good one. That's a good way to end out the second season.
That was a right good one.
I'm so glad he kept us on fucking track when we started telling stupid stories and jokes and shite and just getting all carried away. He's probably sitting there right now laughing.
The shenanigans, I tell you what, bro.
I've never seen a brown leprechaun before, but fuck, he's just as funny as the big-headed one. The big-headed bastard. I tell
you, it's a bloody good time.
Hey, so like we were talking about earlier, we started this podcast because it was just kind of out of a way to remember our friend John. Unfortunately, he chose to take a temporary problem and solve it with a permanent solution, and that's never the right way to do it. There's always answers. There's always resources out there that you can use to get help, to kind of work things out and try to figure things out. So in the idea of coming up with this show and kind of figuring out what we were going to be and who we were going to be and coming up with that identity,
we were going to be,
we developed the Bros Code. And all you got to remember is BROS, simple as that. The first one is be tenacious. No matter what you do, like Gino mentioned earlier, go out there and be the best parent, be the best employee, be the best service member, whatever it takes. Don't just do things in a half-assed manner. Like Ron Swanson said, don't half-ass 2 things. Whole ass one thing. Exactly. Go out there and give it to the best of your ability. Don't, you only live one life. You only have one chance to go through this spinning around, unless you believe in reincarnation, and then that's a whole other conversation. But, do the very best you can. I believe
that would be our friends that have the dot.
So, yeah, be tenacious. Alamo is being tenacious by pushing my fucking buttons when I'm trying to do my piece of the show, trying to get this out of here. And he's just messing me up going, don't go ding dong, you asshole. Don't do that.
Ding dong, ding dong.
Fucking jackass. We're not making fun of anybody, just so you know. I'm making fun of him trying to do a terrible impersonation.
I might be appropriating a little bit. I don't know. A little bit.
But like we talked about, whatever you do in life, be tenacious about it. Go out there and do it to the best of your ability. Refuse to surrender. There are going to be times in life where you're going to get kicked sideways. You're going to get kicked your dick in the dirt. You're going to fall down to your knees. I mean, depending on what type. Look at
that way.
Stop, dude. I'm trying to be. We haven't done this in 3 weeks. I'm having a hard enough time. I got dry mouth like a motherfucker. Like, let's get through this, okay? Just shut up.
Sorry, it's season finale.
I know. We're not gonna keep it in suspense to come back for next year. They know they know where the goods are. We're here. Like I was saying, there's going to be events in your life that are going to get you sideways, twisted, all that kind of stuff. You might get hurt in a deployment. You might get blown up. You might, be injured in a permanent way. You may have to go through some type of financial struggle, a family challenge, whatever the case may be. Fight through that. No matter what happened, push through it. Keep going. Don't let the bastards win, as you tell us. Don't let the terrorists win, kind of thing. So, whatever happens, refuse to surrender. Keep going forward, moving forward to your goal. Okay. Oh, obliterate your obstacles. Kind of keeping in what we just talked about, refusing to surrender. Sometimes you come across, you're trailing, hiking a trail in the woods and you come across a wall. Sometimes you got to hike over and you got to climb over the wall. Sometimes you got to go around it. Sometimes you got to dig under it. Sometimes, as this guy knows about, sometimes you got to bang the thing down by backing into it with a fucking Striker armored vehicle. And sometimes, hey, a little bit of Semtex and some damn deck cord. Blow a fucking hole in that thing. Hit the clacker. Boom. Blow that shit up. Okay? Whatever happens, obliterate your obstacles. Do not let them beat you. Continue on to hit the X. Just drive on to the OBJ, to the objective. Okay? S, most important of the Bros Code. S, seek out help in a time of need. As we talked about earlier tonight, there are going to be plenty of events that, may cause you some pause. It may cause you to not assimilate that well back into civilian society from being in the military. And I use that for an example because a lot of times, I wasn't on Facebook until about 5 years ago. I just was one of those people that just was like, I think it's better to talk to people face to face because you can see their facial expressions. You can kind of hear the inflections in their voice and all that kind of stuff. And I was pleasantly surprised when I got on Facebook for the first time and actually started to reconnect with a lot of the guys that I served in the military with. And, it was great about it. It was, I haven't seen some of these guys in almost 10 years. And it was like we just picked right back up where we left off when the last time we spoke to each other. And these are, special people that we have a special bond with. If you were in the military, if you were, law enforcement, firefighter, EMT, some kind of first responder, you have if you don't know exactly, you have a pretty damn close idea of what that kind of bond is like because you've been in the suck with each other together. So,
to hell and back, baby.
Exactly. If you can, reach out to those folks. If you're having a rough time, I know that anytime if I need to, I can call this guy right here, man. Hey, man, I'm kind of sucking ass right now. And I don't mean in that way. I mean in a very bad way. And I need some help. I need to talk to somebody because I'm not in a good place. And we'll sit there and we'll talk and we'll hash it out. And it's good. He's done it to me. He's called me up and just been like, dude, I need to talk. Okay. And we talked for 2.5 hours, 3 hours on the phone.
We've done it a couple of times.
Yeah, we've done it a couple of times. And there's no shame in that game. I mean, reach out there. Whether it's, somebody you work with, if you have that kind of bond with them, if it's a family member, if it's, even if it's somebody you serve with, reach out to those folks. It's very important that your story be told. You need to have that type of, social interaction with other people. We are social creatures by design. Okay, we're not supposed to go through things alone.
Dr. G covered it perfectly.
Absolutely. In the event that you don't have anybody you can reach out to, there are resources out there. There is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. You can reach them one of two ways. The old school way, the 800 number is 1-800-273-8255. Again, that's 1-800-273-8255. And then as of, I think, July, they just came out with a 3-digit prefix. It's 988. Again, that's 988. And what's great about that is you can call
followed by one after the prompt.
Yep. You can call them, and then you're going to make sure you hit 1 so you can talk to somebody immediately. But you can call that prefix, or you can also text them for folks with everybody nowadays has a damn smartphone. So you can text them and have somebody on the line that'll reach out to you 24/7. Mm-hmm. So, we would hate to see somebody have to go through what we went through with our friend John. We joked about COVID, being the opportunity for Dr. G to write his book, but there's a bigger pandemic than COVID was, and that's the fact that 22 veterans a day are committing suicide, and that is something that we absolutely must stop, halt, cease, and desist in its tracks right then and there. Okay,
yeah,
these are people that paid that have done something so great for their country. They stood up, they signed in a dotted line and said, not on my fucking watch.
Yeah.
And whether, politics be damned, whoever, if you like the president or not, if you like the administration, that who gives a fuck? Okay. These are people that went out and they said, I'm going to do what less than 1% of people do nowadays and stand up and say, it's my turn to hold the line so that these people can live free of disparity, free of peace, or free of danger, free of destruction, and free of oppression. So it's the fact that 22 a day is an appalling number, but it sucks worse when it's somebody And with John, like we said, for him to be just a great dude and just would honestly give you the shirt off his back, it's a travesty. So
Yeah.
our mission with this podcast is to give you the tools, give you the means, and some just something to talk about. And it may not even be you that needs to see this episode or see this podcast. This is our 44th episode, which we are absolutely thrilled and blessed that we've been able to put on. But sometimes it's not about, forgive me for saying this, it's 2022, as Gino said, but hey, sometimes it's not about you. Sometimes you need to watch it and then tell a friend, and then they tell somebody, and then that second person tells somebody that the message needs to get to say, hey, we saw these two guys, man. A buddy of mine told me about this podcast. The one guy, the Hispanic dude, he's all right. The white guy, he's got a big ass head, and it's gnarly. It's fucking, it'll blot out the sun, scare children. But you know what? They got a good message. They're funny. They're kind of goofy at times. I mean, there's laughing their asses off, but they're talking about some real shit that's, needs to be discussed.
I say it all the time, man. Sharing is caring.
Sharing is
caring.
the
shit out of it.
It sounds dumb, but if it works, it works. But at the same time, this is our way of paying it forward. Get the message out there. We're still a growing podcast. It's amazing that we have 150 followers. And, if we had one follower, it wouldn't matter because, this is a higher calling. This is a higher purpose. As Gino said, a lot of guys get out of the military and they have trouble with their purpose. This is our purpose. We talked about this before we found out about John. I was like, yeah, okay. Then we found out about John and it's like, this is what we're supposed to do. This is kind of one of those nut up or shut up moments. And it's like, all right, let's fucking do this. So if you've been with us on this journey so far, we want to say thank you. This is the end of our second season. We're not done by any means necessary, but we're going to keep it going. But before we sign off the second season, I'm going to have Alamo pitch all the or plug all the social media stuff and kind of do his piece, and then we're going to sign off. But Alamo, take it away.
If, my good friends, you would like to catch us on the social medias, you could do that over on the Facebook at facebook.com/battlebros.podcast. You can also do that on the Instagram at battlebros_podcast. If you ever want to catch us over on Gmail, you could do that at battlebrospc@gmail.com.
Totally,
we lost Mac. And
that was totally my fault. I went to click on something and clicked the wrong damn button. I was like, oh no, I just messed it up. Shit. Sorry, my bad. I'm gonna put the mouse down. Look, 2 hands, no mouse, not touching shit. Continue, my man.
And by the way, guys, like on the social medias like Facebook, Instagram, things like that, you could always message us on the instant messengers there. Through Facebook, contact us through WhatsApp. We're going to be answering those messages there no matter what. I have the look, I'm gonna put it out there. The WhatsApp is linked directly to me. So you guys message us on the WhatsApp through our Battle Bros page. It's gonna come directly to me. I'm gonna go ahead and answer it whenever I see it. Which
you're not gonna get a call center. You're not gonna get because we're not that famous yet. Not that that's important. We're not that big. Like we handle all this shit. So any of these stuff, you're getting one of the two of us. So it's like
you're gonna get through to us.
Yeah.
Whatchamajig.
Battle Bros _ podcast, Instagram, Messenger, WhatsApp, all that good stuff.
Yes. Also, if you want to catch us on the audio platforms, you can do that over on Spotify. You can do that over on Anchor, which is our main platform. I am behind on getting, I believe it was episode 43 uploaded onto the audio platforms. a lot of that just comes down to how busy we were last week, and then the hurricane. Obviously, I was out of power, so
Blame it on Ian and move along.
yeah, Ian was a bitch. Also, if you
Shall we
want
do the Ted thing? Fuck you,
Fuck
Thunder!
you, Thunder.
Suck my dick. You can scare me, Thunder, because you just got fat. Anyway,
yes. Excuse me.
that's what we do. That's what we do. Serious.
Yes.
Serious. Stay in character. Stay in character.
You can also catch us on Apple Podcasts. You can catch us on Google Podcasts, Overcast, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. Hey, moving up, baby. Castbox, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, and Stitcher. And honestly, y'all, like I said, it doesn't matter where you catch us. Share the shit out of it. If you want to share like the audio links, from whatever your platform of choice is, like which now obviously we're on iHeartRadio, which
yeah,
I never thought I would say see the day where I can say, hey, me and my best friend are on fucking iHeartRadio. You should listen to us.
We got a YouTube channel. Holy shit.
Got a YouTube. So
don't forget Gmail.
And the Gmail. I
didn't. You didn't. No, you got to the audio stuff. Get to the Gmail.
Oh yeah. Catch us on the Gmail. If you ever want to message us, again, it's one of us is going to answer. It doesn't matter. It's gonna. We're there to.
We
answer
both have
whenever.
access to it. Yeah.
So, if you want to contact us on the G, you can do that. Where the hell's my thingamajiggy? There it is. You could do that at Battle Bros PC at gmail.com.
And the big thing that we're still looking for those folks that have Alexa at home, we still want you. We're the first person to do it's going to get the shout out. Be like, Alexa, play the Battle Bros podcast. We are going to give you the attention that is due for someone.
We will give you the biggest shout out.
Yeah, just be like, it finally fucking happened! Oh my god, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be great.
Fuck yeah!
So, do you have anything else there, bro?
No, I'm good, man.
All right, so as we said, this is going to be the last episode that we have for season 2. This has been episode 044, Recovery, with our special guest, Dr. Gino Collura, Neuroanthropology.
Dr. G.
Dr. G with a behavioral scientist, all that good stuff. Author, commentator. He's been on. You can find him. Listen, he's a handsome guy.
Hey,
all right?
Links in the description, guys.
Yes. Check out his book, 7 Layers of Successful Relationships. You can find that on the internet and almost anywhere where major books, any major revenue retail chain. I'm just fishing at words here now.
As the radio guy always says, available on Amazon.
Yeah, that sounded good. Yeah, you can do the voiceover work. So we're gonna take a little bit of a break, and this is a break that we planned, not the break of we had a hurricane and we both lost power at 2 different weekends. Like, son of a bitch. So we'll have a little bit of a hiatus. We'll be back with episode 45 to start off season 3
on season 3.
That's scary, man. We've done 2 22-episode seasons already. It's like, holy shit balls.
It's fucking nuts.
You go back and watch like the first couple and you just like how cringeworthy they are. Like, oh God, what were we doing?
They were trying so hard to be funny and they suck.
But yeah, if you want to go back and watch any of our episodes, the only one that's not on the audio platforms is episode 10, where we talked about 9/11.
Correct.
We had a little bit of an issue there, but you can catch all of our episodes on our YouTube channel. It's just look up Battle Bros Podcast.
Oh shit! Also on the Rumble. I keep on forgetting
on the Rumble. Yeah,
on
you
the
forgot
Rumble.
that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, our episodes upload directly to the Rumble after every time that this episode uploads to YouTube.
Yep, there you go. So, before we sign off, last thing I want to say is, again, this is all because of a guy that we absolutely enjoyed the hell out of, and that's John. So, if the good thing is, if John were still here, there wouldn't be a show, and that wouldn't be a bad thing. So unfortunately he's not, but we were trying to, keep his memory alive through our show and through what we talk about, and just giving the resources out there. So, we would not have the show if it wasn't for the people like yourself that are watching. We are very, very thankful and graciously humble that you have chosen to take a few minutes out of your day, take an hour or so, sometimes up to 2 hours plus, depending on the episode, and just kind of listen to two guys ramble and kind of sort of know what the hell they're talking about.
And
from
occasionally
time to
have
time.
a pretty cool guest.
Have a fantastic. The guests we've had on have been fucking fantastic. So if you've been on this show this season, from Dr. Gino to Greg to Chuck to Melissa, Brian, Brent. Can't forget Brent, for God's sakes. Oh my God. We're hoping to have some more veteran interview panels coming up for season 3. We're going to kind of keep that rolling as well. But like I said, we're going to have a short break, but we will be back, and it will be just as good, if not better, than we've done before. So until that time,
Hell yeah.
we got to get the drink in. Moderation there, pal. But hey,
I've got me a bit of Captain.
Aye, Captain Morgan. Lovely.
Captain Morgan.
You do a great mashup, you Captain Morgan Freeman.
My name is Captain Morgan Freeman, and I'd like to narrate what we're going to do. I'm going to fill me this little shot glass.
I just showed my mom that thing about the guy saying titty sprinkles. She fucking lost it. Oh my God. I don't have a shot glass. I'm going straight from the bottle. So let's just get this shit down.
I'm going to drink my little shot glass that says I'm a small drinker. And we're going to have us a good time.
All right. Cheers, buddy.
All right.
Here's the season 2, man.
Season 3, buddy.
Season 3 coming up. There we go.
Hell yeah. You're right there, pal.
It burns a little bit. Why does my mouth taste like burning? Shut up, Ralph. Fucking Ralph from Simpsons.
Buck 'em, Lou.
All right, folks. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back for season 3.
Damn right.
We're going to keep the party going, and we're going to talk about some real shit, and we're going to, make fun of ourselves while we're doing it. But until then, just remember, be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, seek out help in a time of need. If you can do those 4 things, you're going to be just fine. You're going to keep yourself in the fight, and we're going to hear from you on the flip side. So until that time, thank you again for watching episode 044 entitled Recovery with special guest Dr. Gino Collura of the Battle Bros podcast. My name is Mac. This is Alma over here. Thanks for stopping by, and we just want to say we fucking love you, and we'll see you soon.
Battle Bros out for now.
Catch you later.